Hello YouTube, Film Buff 06 here, coming your way with my relatively brief review for the 20-minute long live action short film slash success story from last year that made recent international headlines by winning the Oscar for Best Live Action Short Film early this year, and was initially broadcast on BBC One on Good Friday 2018. The Silent Child, which was made on an extremely limited budget, was distributed by a little production company named Slick Films, is mandatorily subtitled for one understandably special reason, which I'm going to get into a bit later in the review anyway, was the directorial debut of actor Chris Overton, was written by and co-stars his wife-to-be, Rachel Shenton, who may be best well known for her 3-year stint as Mitzi Miniver in Hollyoaks, as well as being an open activist supporting the deaf community, hence why she based the story of this short film on her own life experiences as the child of a deaf parent, namely her father, was exclusively made to raise awareness of the current dire lack of education, funding and or resources that help to provide hard of hearing and or just plain deaf young children in this country with all the help and support that they desperately need, acts as sort of a spiritual mini sequel or mini spin-off to the A Word in a sense, and it tells the sweet and simple story of a profoundly deaf 4-year-old girl named Libby, played by newcomer Maisie Sly, who is born into a middle-class hearing family and completely isolates herself in a world of complete and utter silence due to her parents, Sue and Paul, being woefully ill-equipped about how best to deal with her condition. So a kindly and caring social worker named Joanne comes in to try and save the day, Mary Poppins style, by teaching Libby how to communicate using BSL or British Sign Language to try and prepare her for the big step of going to school for the very first time. So, what are my relatively brief thoughts on The Silent Child? Do I think it truly deserved all the critical praise it's been receiving across the board? And do I think it was the truly deserving winner of this year's Best Live Action Short Film Oscar? Well, my answer to both questions is, oh my god, yes. I mean, wow, do I freaking love this short film. In fact, I'm going to be keeping this review all positive because I honestly have zero negatives to find or think of whatsoever with The Silent Child at all. And I could even go as far as to say that it easily has to be by far the first virtually perfect short film I have seen so far this decade. Chris Overton's direction is excellent. The editing and the pacing are just spot on, and the cinematography is absolutely stunning, especially the long shots of the rural English countryside, and just brilliantly makes the film look and feel gritty, bleak, authentic, and realistic. The instrumental score by Alfredo Sirica is just so beautiful and moving, and I even love when it cleverly goes silent for one brief moment in the movie so that it allows you to imagine yourself in Libby's shoes and see, everyone talking and communicating freely with one another around you without literally being able to hear anything, which even I can imagine must be a really isolating, heartbreaking, and rather lonely existence for a profoundly deaf child to live in. Plus, I didn't really mind that the film was subtitled and can thus completely understand why the filmmakers wanted to include them in the first place, primarily because of the fact this film was aimed at a mostly deaf or hard of hearing target audience, and thus they would otherwise not be able to hear or understand properly what each of the characters are saying. Rachel Shenton not only gives such a brilliant performance as Joanne, not only has such an amazing and adorable chemistry with Maisie Sly that makes you go, "Aww," but also does such an amazing job writing the screenplay to this film. You can clearly tell how much passion, care, and respect she truly has for the subject matter, and how much she truly wanted to make this film, which in a way was sort of her pet project. Speaking of Maisie Sly, to say that this little girl, who by the way is actually profoundly deaf herself in real life, has quite the extremely promising career ahead of her as an actress, a la the next Saoirse Ronan or something to that effect, is probably one of the greatest understatements of this entire decade. for her debut performance in this film as Libby is nothing short of amazing, and easily ranks right up there with the likes of Max Vento in The A Word as one of the very best child performances I've ever seen so far this decade. And I also have to congratulate and applaud both Rachel and Chris for not just casting an able-bodied actor to give a performance of a disabled character, as most TV dramas and or Hollywood movies of this caliber very often tend to do nowadays, and for having the actual balls to go out there, do their homework, and cast someone with a real life disability as this character. Also, some people may complain that Libby's mother Sue, portrayed brilliantly by Rachel Fielding, is a touch too unlikable, selfish and overprotective in terms of her overall reactions and behaviour throughout the film. Almost a little bit like Alison in series 1 of The A Word. But to be fair to her, she isn't necessarily painted out to be the bad guy in this situation, because you can at least sort of understand realistically where she's coming from and why she feels that she is only trying to do what she thinks is best for Libby's own personal well-being, because she's basically reacting the exact same way that most mothers in her position would react in normal everyday life. And even I just can't help but imagine myself in her shoes and behaving the exact same way to a situation like this if I was a parent myself. The ending where Joanne has to say a tearful goodbye to Libby at the special school after her abrupt dismissal by Sue is genuinely and legitimately heartbreaking, and didn't so much make me break down as it rather brought a few tears to my eyes and left a few lumps forming in my throat. And what really hits you right in here is the inevitably tragic statistical disclaimer that appears right at the end, which reads like this: 90% of deaf children are born to hearing parents. Over 78% of deaf children attend mainstream school with no specialist support in place. Deafness is not a learning difficulty, nor is it life-threatening. With the right support, a deaf child can do exactly the same as a hearing child. We hope this little short film contributes in the fight for sign language to be recognised in every school across the globe. In conclusion, I absolutely adore The Silent Child. In fact, it still shocks, floors, stuns, and blows me the fuck away to this day how flawless this little short film is, and thus how it became just nigh on impossible for me at the time to find or think of any flaws that I had with it. It is even all the more amazing to think that Rachel Shenton and Chris Overton managed to cram in so much emotion, so much drama, so much character development and depth, so much warmth, so much gentle humour, so much inevitable heartbreak, so much of everything that makes a great little drama, and so much attention, respect, and care for the subject matter into this 20-minute long short film that actually feels like you're watching it for only 10 minutes. Is easily by far one of, if not the best live action short film I've ever seen so far, and also easily the best British live action short film to ever win the Oscar since Franz Kafka's It's a Wonderful Life back in 1995, which, believe it or not, was written and directed by Malcolm Tucker and the 12th Doctor himself, Peter Capaldi. I highly recommend that you go and check this short film out if you know or are related to someone who is either hard of hearing or just plain deaf themselves. It proves that even a short film like this can have as much of the potential power as a feature-length film to project a strong, compelling and powerful message, which of course in this case is about learning to accept deaf or hard of hearing people and how society can and should improve to give them all the help and support that they desperately need, rather than just blatantly ignore, disregard and treat them as if they are a minority or they don't really matter. This should help to encourage our current Tory government, parents, governors and teachers to firmly put the phenomenon of BSL back on the national school curriculum map, and also help to raise awareness of such a profound and complex condition that sadly nobody ever seems to talk about or bother to address enough nowadays anymore. And without this coming across as just pure hyperbole, my surprisingly enthusiastic overall rating for The Silent Child is going to be an awesome-tacular and perfect 10 out of 10. Now, feel free to leave a comment in the section below and let me know your individual thoughts on The Silent Child as well as let me know if you think it deserved its Oscar win early this year or not. Plus, feel free to subscribe to my channel as always, as well as go to my channel page and click on the little bell so that you get all of the notifications and updates from my channel via email. And also, if you haven't already, please don't forget to join my Facebook group page, as well as follow me on Twitter and Instagram. And until my next video, which is at long last going to be a review of the 2006 ITV movie with Victoria Wood and David Threlfall, that I've sort of been wanting to talk about for at least just over a couple of years now, since Victoria Wood's death back in 2016, Housewife 49. Do take care, everyone. My congratulations on their special day today to the royal couple, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. And goodbye, folks.